Ferrari didn't poach a veteran for nostalgia. They hired a legend to spearhead a brand new siege on Formula One. 5 races in, critics howl decline. But inside Maranello, the drums pound a different rhythm. Team boss Frédéric Vasseur has planted a flag so boldly that in his own unfiltered words, anyone talking downfall is talking nonsense. Why would a notoriously unsentimental manager fight this hard for a driver who just finished 30 seconds adrift? Because he sees something the scoreboards can't, an earthquake forming beneath the scarlet paint. The Jeddah paddock was still humming when Vasseur walked into the mixed zone, removed his headset and detonated every retirement rumour in a single breath. Reporters lobbed the obvious question, is Hamilton past his peak? And Vasseur didn't blink. 2,000% commitment, he said, counting off each syllable on his fingers so nobody missed the emphasis. Then, lowering his voice for lethal effect, he added, "Those stories? Absolute rubbish." The Frenchman, famous for cutting drivers the moment they underperform, outlined 3 bullet points within 60 seconds. Hamilton's simulator hours already exceed the internal average. His feedback has accelerated Ferrari's correlation tests by weeks, and his long-run pace in Bahrain quietly matched Leclerc's until tyre deg spiked. That short speech did more than swat away gossip. It served notice that Vasseur has tied his own reputation to Hamilton's resurgence. Hamilton could have brushed aside the Saudi defeat with platitudes. Instead, he called the SF25 strangely distant, admitted he was driving around problems rather than through them, and most tellingly, scrapped a scheduled trip to Monaco to stay glued to the simulator. Friends say he slept in his Maranello apartment with telemetry prints on the bedside table. That self-diagnosis matters for 2 reasons. First, nothing kills complacency like public accountability. Second, Vasseur's no-excuses culture demands visible ownership. Hamilton, delivering that ownership before microphones, gave the entire factory a mandate: squeeze every bite of learning from his transparency. And transparency, when wielded by a 7-time champion, becomes jet fuel. Jeddah's 30-second gap looked brutal until you dissect the lap chart. Hamilton lost 12 seconds stacked behind traffic after an early pit stop, another 7 in aero wash during a DRS train, and 4 more compensating for higher tyre pressures mandated by Pirelli that particular night. Strip away those quirks, and the deficit shrinks alarmingly. Remember Bahrain? Verstappen ended nearly half a minute behind the winner thanks to a power unit safety mode, and nobody lit the Max is fading beacon. The 2025 field is compressed like never before. Half a degree of track temp can reorder the top 10. Treating a single margin as prophecy is not analysis, it's clickbait. Shanghai's sprint weekend is circled on Ferrari's battle map because sprints compress experimentation. With only one practice, a car that switches on tyres quickly enjoys a disproportionate advantage. Ferrari's Bahrain long run showed precisely that trait. Hamilton ran 17 laps on used mediums with degradation curves flatter than Red Bull's. Hit that same window in China and the stopwatch swings. Vasseur's blueprint is obsession over fundamentals, floor vortices, anti-dive geometry and mechanical platform, not frantic upgrade dumps. He told Italian media, fix the base, polish the edge and performance snowballs. That measured approach frustrates headline writers hunting drama, but it shields the team from yo-yo form. Yet hardware is only half the plan. The human engine is revving even harder. Maranello, after dusk, looks like a museum, but last Monday lights blazed in every third-floor office. Hamilton and Leclerc arrived straight from the airport, swiped their badges and sank into a 90-minute stint inside the driver-in-the-loop simulator. No PR cameras allowed. Aerodynamicists parked pizza boxes on CFD terminals. The chief mechanic rolled a complete front suspension assembly into the lobby for hands-on driver feedback. This lock-in ritual, revived from Ferrari's Schumacher era, compresses weeks of email exchanges into one sleepless night. Leclerc later posted a single-line message on social media, chasing tenths together. It racked up 500,000 likes. But more importantly, it signalled that the team's 2 alpha talents are tackling the same checklist rather than running parallel agendas. Outside pundits predicted a bedding-in year, but Vasseur torpedoed that narrative in front of his entire race team. We do not pay world champion salaries for simulation seasons. He reminded employees that Ferrari's title drought now spans nearly 2 decades, longer than some mechanics have been alive. Budget cap constraints mean every development euro must yield podium points today, not in some hazy future. In the same briefing, he laid down metrics: at least 1 pole by the summer break, at least 2 victories by season's end, and a constructor's podium as non-negotiable. Failing those aims triggers a root branch review, corporate code for staff turnover. High pressure? Absolutely. But Hamilton's career ledger thrives under high atmospheric density. Study Hamilton's peaks. 2009's underperforming McLaren until late updates let him win in Singapore. The 2016 Abu Dhabi finale, where he backed up Rosberg while still chasing the title. The 2021 comeback run after Silverstone, when critics declared the championship over. Each scenario began with a wave of finished headlines and concluded with Hamilton weaponizing that noise. Sources close to him describe his current mood as hyper-focused short fuse. He's sending WhatsApp voice notes to race engineers at midnight, requesting micro details on anti-roll bar stiffness. Physiotherapy sessions now include eye-tracking drills to sharpen corner entry reference points. When asked about the swirling commentary, he replied with a smile, "Speak loudly now. I won't hear you when the visor's down. That isn't bravado. It's a forecast." Hidden in Ferrari's post-race debrief is a stat nobody published: Hamilton's average apex speed through Jeddah's high commitment. Turns 22 to 23 was the fastest of any non-Red Bull driver. He braked 3 meters later than Leclerc at turn 1 and still recorded lower tyre surface temperatures. Proof that confidence grows lap by lap. Add a more compliant rear end from the upcoming floor tweak, and those micro victories stack. Vasseur cites these internal metrics when quizzed by the board of directors. They're the breadcrumbs justifying his high decibel defence. One rough Sunday doesn't write an obituary, it writes the introduction to an uprising. Vasseur's public vow, Hamilton's ruthless self-audit, and Ferrari's all-hours factory surge fuse into a single proposition: the Scuderia is done waiting for fate to deliver trophies. Legends rarely fade. They rearm under harsher lights. So the next time a headline buries Hamilton, picture him pacing a simulator bay at midnight, telemetry glowing across his visor. When the balance clicks, and history says it will, the only voice left in that paddock will be the scream of a scarlet car, hurtling back to the front. The question isn't whether Hamilton still has it, it's whether anyone else is ready when he unveils what he's been building in the dark.